Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
All right, so we are back. Believe that we have some audio. So sorry about that. Technical difficulties here. I don't always get that playback to know if my audio is working. So thankfully, our crew's here helping me out behind the scenes. So we are kind of back in business. We didn't miss too much. I was just talking about those current temperatures, which you can see sitting into the mid to upper 20s. We're still going to be remaining below the freezing mark for us. And even kind of going back to the after school forecast, you're going to see that we don't really have a lot of wet weather here. The cloud cover, the winter clouds still hanging around for us. Temperatures still remaining below freezing. So if you're going to be going to some after school activities that are a little bit later tonight, like our high school basketball games, we do have Fast Break Friday coverage. So maybe one of our crews is going to be headed to your school. So make sure you're tuning into the news tonight at 11 for highlights of all of our local games that we were able to make it to. But just immediately after school here, we're still going to be looking at temperatures into the upper 20s. We have the mostly cloudy skies, and we are going to continue to keep that forecast dry. But I do kind of want to talk about some of the snow totals here in the forecast, because we are going to be finding that it's been a pretty snowy start here to the season. And this is actually including snowfall from November, even October, November, December, kind of right where we're at. Because when we were kind of talking about even some winter outlooks that you may have been seeing, is that we're finding that that start time for the snow varies. Some outlets were doing their winter snowfall prediction to where that included October, November, and going all the way even into the spring, to where the National Weather Service, typically their winter season is just going to include December, January, and February data, because that's meteorological winter. So this is going to include what we've picked up so far this season, and you can see that we are well above average for both Flint, Saginaw, and also in Houghton Lake. In Houghton Lake, actually, we have 2 feet of snow. Typically, we have just over a foot on the ground at this point, or what has fallen. And then in Flint, we also have over a foot of snow, when typically we would be sitting around at about 7 inches for the average. And then that average, pretty similar for Saginaw at about 7.3 inches. And so far, we've recorded 17.8. So it's been snowy for the start of this season. This has definitely been a welcome sign for a lot of people who like to do some skiing, snowboarding, snowmobiling, a lot of those winter activities with some fresh snow. It's been nice to kind of have that here in the forecast, to where we can have some fun and kind of play in at least a few feet of snow in parts of mid-Michigan. As I was talking about, a lot of folks maybe want to do a little bit of skiing and maybe some snowboarding. Here's a look at some of the ski reports that we have so far. So you are going to see that a couple of locations have some pretty healthy bases. So there are some open lifts that are there. So just know that you can definitely get out and just kind of reach out to a lot of the local resorts where you're going to see if they're open, what their hours are, because really it's kind of maybe based on demand, but also maybe where some of that snow is maybe a little bit more fresh, or they just are able to use those snow guns a little bit better. So we are going to find that we can still, though, get outside and have some fun. When we look at the hour-by-hour forecast, though, for the rest of today, we are going to find that still some lake effect is to be possible for us. It's not going to add up to all that much. We will see that we just have a couple of flurries that are going to even be around the 5 o'clock hour. So just note, while you're driving home, you still got to keep an eye to roadways, and we will continue to see that snow chance build. So we have a cold front that's going to be coming in tonight. This is going to be bringing us some snow. We're going to be seeing this a little bit closer towards the last few hours of our Friday, so right around bedtime, but I know it's Friday night. Maybe you stay up late and you go out. So if you're going to be out a little bit later tonight, we are going to be wanting you to keep an eye to changing road conditions with that snow coming in. So again, 10, 11 o'clock is when we'll start to have that front pass by. It brings that snow fairly steady at times for some of us. We're still at 1 a.m. kind of spotting that kind of the Tri-Cities and Thumb before it just the last little bit is laying across the Thumb around 3 a.m. So we are going to be finding that this is kind of a quick spell to where it's just about 4 or 5 hours that we pick up on the snow, because here at 5 a.m., a lot of the snow is gone. We're actually transitioning back to lake effect at this point. So we will be waking up to potentially a fresh dusting of snow on the ground. It's not going to be all that much. It's still going to be passable, and it really isn't enough to cancel your weekend plan. So if you're worried, if you maybe have some gatherings, some early Christmas gatherings to get everybody together, I don't think that you have any concerns weather-wise to get to any of those destinations, even though we do have some snow in the forecast for tonight going into tomorrow morning. But if you are gathering tomorrow, or maybe again doing some holiday shopping, you're going to see that we don't have a lot of snow activity going on during the day on Saturday. So still some lake effect. You might get maybe that snow globe feeling at times if you can pick up on some of those snow showers. But overall, it is going to be pretty quiet in the forecast as we go throughout the beginning of the weekend. And really, Sunday isn't much different either. We will find that we still have that lake effect that's brewing for us on Sunday, but then we are going to continue to kind of see that just hovering around. So we could still pick up on some snowflakes, but overall, it's not going to add up to all that much for the back half of our Saturday going into Sunday either. And again, road impacts are not expected in this forecast. We are still keeping that snow chance a little bit higher because of that cold front bringing in the snow showers tonight, and then we still have the lake effect chances. We were able to drop that percentage down, though, to about 20% for Saturday and Sunday, and then even into Monday, we did still have to kind of keep that around a 30%. Still, very much a manageable forecast when we are talking snow. This is kind of maybe the standard, considering we've already had quite a bit of snow. We've already kind of been driving in it, so maybe we have the rust knocked off of those driving skills at this point. So we are going to be working with a very much standard kind of lake effect Michigan forecast here for the weekend and even going into Monday. But we do actually have a quiet day in the forecast on Tuesday. That is a dry day. We're not even looking at lake effect to be on the table for us. So we are going to be finding that that's more like a transition day when we're kind of in between a couple of systems here. So still talking about that snow, we are going to find that our snow totals, this is what we're going to be picking up from the rest of today going into Saturday morning. And you can see that it's across Huron County that we have a chance to get up around 1.25 inches for our snowfall rates. Otherwise, a lot of locations are going to be at 1 inch or less. So really what that's going to be is passable on roadways. It just might make them slimy. Just a thin layer can kind of make things a little bit slippery. So keep that in mind as you head out the door Saturday morning. But overall conditions, you can see, again, this is going to be very much a very standard middle of the road kind of forecast for what we can handle here at this point in December. I'm going to add the rest of the weekend in, and you can see it doesn't still stack up to all that much with the lake effect. We can still find that we have yet some higher totals coming here into Roscommon and Huron counties, especially the northern portion of Huron County, kind of getting some air over the outer bay that can kind of set up to where in Port Hope we may potentially get that 1 to 3 inch range going throughout the weekend. But again, that's going to include what we pick up Friday night going into Saturday and any of that lake effect. So really it's just kind of spread out between a couple of days. So a couple inches over a couple of days should be manageable. Of course, it is lake effect, so it can really get going. Wind direction can be a big driver for it. But we will also find, again, Roscommon County, we're going to be watching there for some lake effect. So that can also be maybe a little bit slower for travel along 127 and even where 75 and 127 connect. So that's what we're going to be watching here as we go throughout our weekend, is really just kind of the slight snow chance and then really minimal impacts. Of course, whenever it has snowed, anything's even falling from the sky, you can have slick roadways. So make sure that you're just being cautious while you're out there. Now we are going to take another quick break. We'll make sure that the audio is still solid here, but we are going to be talking about ice coverage for folks who want to maybe do a little bit of ice fishing. And again, if you're doing some holiday shopping, we're going to have a look at that forecast. That's all coming up in the next 60 seconds. We talked about the snow and how that's going to be coming in with a cold front, but it also, of course, any kind of cold front going to be dropping those temperatures. So we will see that our highs on Saturday, we did have that around 19, 20 degrees, but even in the data today, we've really had to kind of pull that number back quite a bit. So we are anticipating your highs to be closer towards the mid, hopefully the upper teens, but it is going to be a cold day. So again, if you are doing some Christmas shopping, it is going to be pretty chilly going in between your car and the stores. And if you're walking around, maybe you're walking around Frankenmuth doing some shopping there, it is going to be quite a bit cooler. So make sure that you are bundled up, hats, gloves, coats, maybe some layers on, those fuzzy sweatshirts. You're going to want to be comfortable while you're outside. But again, make sure that you are dressing for temperatures that are going to be into the teens. We will even find that our wind chills are, of course, going to keep it a little bit colder yet. We are actually, let me bump this here to this afternoon and evening. We can find that our wind chills tonight for any Friday night plans that you have are going to be around 10 to 15 degrees. So that's what it's going to be feeling like outside, but that doesn't last all night. We actually find closer towards Saturday morning that we do drop below that 0 mark. So we will be finding our future feels like temperatures to be into the negatives. We're talking nearly 5 degrees below 0. Some of us might be just a touch colder than that yet, but we are looking to be just below that 0 mark in the forecast. As we go into the afternoon, not a lot of changes. Like I said, that cold air, it's here and it means business. So if you are going to be walking around tomorrow afternoon, make sure you are dressed warm, because we are going to continue to just have those wind chills that make it feel like the negatives outside. Frostbite still to be something to be mindful of. It should take over a half hour still at these conditions, but it is still something to be mindful of, especially if maybe circulation isn't always your specialty. So kind of keep that in mind. If you are going to be spending prolonged periods of time, just make sure you just go inside, warm up a little bit, take some frequent breaks. That would be a big help. Going into Saturday evening, you can even kind of see that we do get close to some double digits with those dashes out in front. So we could be looking at potentially -8, -10 for some of our wind chills going into Saturday night. And even by Sunday morning, we're still kind of hovering for some of us with those negatives out there. We could even be starting the day in the Vehicle City with a wind chill around -10, -12 degrees. And we can see that we do have yet some temperatures a little bit further north that just get into those positive numbers, but overall for everybody, it's simply going to be cold Sunday morning. So if you're headed to worship, make sure that you are dressed warm, use the car starter to get there. We will go into the afternoon and see a little bit more of a warming trend. Those feels like temperatures getting back to the teens. So we still could have some single digits into the thumb, but at least we do start to see at least a little bit of a warming trend. It's still though going to be cooling out Sunday night into Monday morning, where we will be flirting once again kind of with those sub-zero conditions. I do want to highlight the ice coverage here, because we are seeing some pretty good ice coverage of the bay. So we are kind of sitting, that red kind of means 90 to 100%. And you can see the inner bays really filling in. We're still getting some good ice kind of coming here, stretching into Caseville, and even Port Austin. That little spot there has started to show up on the map. So we are picking up on some good ice coverage, but the difference is ice coverage and thickness are two different things. So actually I was trying to find the sensor in the map that we use, but it hasn't actually been even updated for thickness yet. So I don't really have a good measurement of how thick and what the concentration is for the ice in the bay. So the best advice is to be very mindful when you're headed out there. Make sure that you know the thickness, what those conditions are, where you're at, especially if you're trying to kind of drill through some of the ice to do some fishing. So just be mindful. Of course, maybe some rivers, some creeks are a little bit thicker potentially than what the bay is showing when we're talking ice thickness, but just kind of keep in mind that ice safety. It is still cold. We are going to continue to grow ice through the weekend, but I know a lot of you, if you're doing ice fishing, you know the drill. You know when it's safe to be out there. So just kind of know and remember all of those safety tips going into this season. Because we do have the ice, we're happy to have it, but it may not be safe to head out there just yet. And maybe if ice fishing isn't your thing and you want to just keep your 2 feet on the ground, well, maybe a little bit of holiday shopping might be on your to-do list this weekend. We are going to find, though, it's cold. We talked about those cold temperatures, so we are going to be seeing those air temperatures into the teens, just barely making it into the 20s along our counties, along 127 going into Sunday. But at least we are going to be keeping the winter clouds around. It's going to be feeling like December outside while you are doing that shopping, kind of checking off your list, maybe checking it twice. But we are going to see that it's easily manageable to do some shopping. So whether you're going to some of the local downtowns or even maybe going to the outlet mall, wherever your shopping adventures take you, you're just going to want to bundle up while you are there. But it is going to be still some pretty nice weather if that is on your to-do list this weekend. Another check of that 7-day first alert forecast has our temperatures still staying on the cooler side that Saturday. Again, we have that high into the mid-teens. We do get back into the 20s on Sunday and Monday, and then we're still tracking a little bit of a warm-up going into Wednesday and Thursday. We have highs that are above freezing, and that is going to be warm enough to where when we have that moisture coming in, we do have some rain chances. So I know a lot of people are asking, what are our chances of a white Christmas? How's that looking? Well, we have a lot of time still. We have 2 weeks before we get to Christmas. And so that means that a lot can happen between now and then. But we have quite a bit of a base that's on the ground for snow depth, but we'll have to really watch on the amount of rain that we get, how long we have these temperatures that are above freezing, and also how much sun. So that's why it's really hard to tell yet how that Christmas is going to be looking when we just kind of have yet 2 weeks out from that. So it is a possibility that that snow can stick around, but I just want everybody to be aware that it's a little bit of a coin toss here, because we are watching a couple of systems to be coming in. We have one that we're watching in the horizon. This is kind of some insider scoop, so good thing that you stayed here all the way to the end of our time here at the First Alert Desk, because I am watching a system right ahead of Christmas, and then I have one that's kind of coming in right behind it. So kind of keeping that in mind for travel plans, that there are 2 systems that are starting to to get kind of resolved in the data that we're watching for. So of course, we'll first alert you when we have a better picture and more confidence, but I can at least see those waves out there. So I want to kind of give you that first alert and that insider scoop that there are a couple of systems here going into the later half of December that we will need to watch. Both of them do have the chance of some rain and some snow in them. So we really got to just see how the timing and where those locations set up. So there's a lot. These systems aren't even developed yet. So it's just kind of that inside scoop that I'm able to give you some of those little sneak peeks and little tidbits of information. But of course, make sure that you have that First Alert weather app here as we go into the winter season to kind of keep an eye on those storms that we're watching. And also you can use this to check temperatures tomorrow. You can see the air temperature, get that wind chill. So if you're headed out and you want to know how warm it is or how cold it is really, you can go and open up the app. So if you don't have it, you can get that on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. It is free to download. If you do have it, then you already know the drill, but it's always good to make sure that that app is updated. But as we go into the weekend, that app is also a great place to check in with us. But still tonight, we have First Alert Chief Meteorologist Chris Eastlick. He's going to be here at the desk at 9 o'clock, giving you that most up-to-date weekend forecast. And also make sure you tune in to the TV5 News at 4 for the latest headlines and also still another look at that 7-day forecast. But thank you so much for joining me here this afternoon. We look forward to joining you right back here next week at 2 o'clock here at the desk.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.